everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today, we're going to continue our look at Michael Chabon Presents The Amazing Adventures of the Escapist. So we're up to volume 2 now, and this is a huge dip in quality. I gotta say, this was teetering on the brink of being kicked out of the Academy, but I really do have the soft spot for The Escapist, for Michael Chabon's original book, The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. And I guess I'll keep it. There are some interesting ones in here. But man, compared to that first issue, we had Sienkiewicz, we had Brereton, all these amazing artists. And this one is just like, whoa, it's definitely not as good. We start off with our wraparound cover from Matt Kindt. And I'm not a big fan of that guy's stuff, but he's pretty good at just pure illustration. This is pretty nice stuff. I like this, how it's all the characters from The Escapist, including Luna Moth, done as old, like, cigar cards or cigarette cards. They used to put, like, baseball cards and little curio cards in cigarettes back in the day. And so it's very old-timey. And these are supposedly all the actors who play in the Escapist movies, because in this fake reality, the Escapist was kind of a popular character, and there were serials, there was movies, and these are the actors playing them. And on the back, it continues, and it gives us the little backs of the cards, like number 3 of a series of 8, And it's so, not only are all these superheroes made up, but now they make these little bios for all the actors playing these characters. And it's kind of fun. Kind of fun idea. Not nearly as good as that Chris Ware wraparound cover of the last issue. We got the title page here. And we got the contents. So once again, we have another article by Bubbles Latour. And this one's really interesting. Supposedly, EC Comics got the license for The Escapist right as they were about to go out the door, like in 54, 55. William Gaines figured, maybe we should have a superhero title. We've never done it before. And they published, I believe, one story. It never came out, though. The Comics Code arose then, pretty much put an end to EC Comics. And here we see the story. Hail and fear well. Now, I gotta say, I think this is such a well-done EC pastiche. It's Marv Wolfman writes it, longtime superhero writer, and this is Joe Staton art. He does such a good job of, like, kind of channeling a little Krigstein here, a little Johnny Craig there. This almost looks like an EC comic. But, of course, it's a little more crude. Joe Staton's not up to their talent level. But it's a really good story about this. It's 1955. There's this guy who was a Nazi during the war. He escaped, and he made it to America. And we see him in his apartment, just crying with rapture, just thinking about his beloved Hitler. And when we realize that, oh, no, it's not... You think it's World War II back then, or, pre-1945. No, he's in a little crappy apartment in America, 1955. It's all in his bedroom. He has all this Nazi fetishistic stuff. Look at this panel right here. It totally looks like it could be Krigstein or Craig. And he's a janitor, this guy. But he's part of a secret underground Nazi organization. Of course, they're linked to the Iron Chain, the fascist group that the Escapist has vowed to fight. There's this Jewish senator. The janitor works there at the office. He works in D.C. And I guess there's some plot about how there's going to be this elaborate 4th of July celebration tomorrow. It's for orphans. There's going to be a great puppet show. There's going to be, and the Escapist is going to show up. So the Escapist comes in, says hi to Cohen, the Jewish senator, and apparently they're old friends. Seems like Cohen's the rare bird of a good, decent politician. So our Nazi, I guess, antagonist, shit-tagonist, And we see him with his Nazi buddies, and they have this elaborate plan set up using some of the experiments that Joseph Mengele did, because he escaped too. You know, he was always out there. And I guess he figured out this way to kind of make duplicates of people. And we see a flashback to 1945. And apparently the Hitler that was dead in the bunker, that, you know, who shot himself, and we found, that was a double. So it implies that Hitler's out there somewhere. So the Escapist is, then it's kind of, the side plot of the Escapist is on the trail of these 3 communist Russians. I mean, they even wear the furry hats. They're like, they stand out pretty well in America. And he's on their trail. And he's just like, what are they up to? He has no idea. Guys, this is fascinating thinking about if EC did do a superhero comic. So the Russians capture the Escapist, tie him to an anchor, and throw him into the ocean. Meanwhile, our little Nazi dude, they do an operation on him and make him look just like Senator Cohen. This is the whole elaborate plan they're going to do. He, sorry, I gotta get some water. So he goes into work the next day. I mean, well, it's not his work anymore. He looks like Senator Cohen. And then it's so funny how, yes, even if William M. Gaines did a superhero comic, it would still revert to like gory EC shit. So he takes a hatchet to the real Senator Cohen and stuffs all of his body parts into his desk in a panic. Because at any minute, someone could walk in. And actually, pretty soon, these big politicos walk in to talk about the 4th of July celebration. And then we get a telltale heart thing where he's hearing the sound, thump, thump, thump. And he's like, can you hear that? It's horrible. The pounding. And these guys are like, we don't hear anything. So they're like mishmashing a bunch of crazy shit up. The politicos notice that there's blood on his desk and dripping out of it. So he kills them with a hatchet. Very good duplication of an EC panel. Of course, they got the great lettering, you know, that EC, I can't remember the name of it, Letricet or something. So back to the Escapist, he frees himself. Of course he does, he's the Escapist. Meanwhile, we cut back to the senator, the fake senator, shoving all those other body parts. I don't know, it looks like a giant bag. It's very gruesome. The Escapist shows up, and he says, hey, Senator Cohen. And he's not a very good actor, this Nazi, this doofus. He's just like totally acting out of character. He's snapping at the Escapist. And the Escapist is like, are you feeling okay? You don't seem to be yourself. And he's just yelling at the Escapist, get the fuck out of my office. So Escapist knows something's up. And then these Nazis surround the Escapist, which of course is very odd. They're totally dressed like real, like 1940s Nazis. He's like, what the fuck? Meanwhile, the fake Senator Cohen throws the duffel bag into the Potomac. But then we see there's a movement in the bag underwater. It somehow moves with unexplained life. Meanwhile, the communists show up, the 3 Ruskies, and they start attacking the Nazis. And the Escapist is like, why did you just save me? You tried to kill me earlier. And the Russian explains, we thought you were working with the Nazis. We apologize. And basically, it's like they're good Russians. They're like, one day, people will be in charge of our country who will want friends like you. But those Nazis, they're insane and dangerous. They're just bad. So I guess a lot of the part of this plan is too is they're going to resurrect Hitler and exchange his brain into President Eisenhower's. I guess somehow this dumb thing can put someone's brain in another person's body. Meanwhile, we see under the river, these are some fun panels. We see all of the Politico guys and Senator Cohen. They all kind of turn into this one unibeast, one united shambling monstrosity. Back to the 4th of July event, Ike Eisenhower sitting next to our fake senator, our Nazi dude, and he pulls out this hypo, and he's going to inject basically Hitler's brain into Ike's body. Escapist shows up just in time. I gotta say, Joe Staton's doing some really fun, dynamic cartooning in this. It's very cartoony, but some of the panels, it almost looks like, a funny comic. But that's really just fun, simple stuff. So the Escapist kicks the fake senator's hand, and the hypo goes into his neck. So he becomes Hitler, which to him is great. So he realizes, though, but I've got to escape so I can rise to power. Escapist chases him, and they duke it out on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And it looks like this Nazi guy's got the upper hand. And then all of a sudden, we see this giant yellow hand just tear through his whole torso, very gorily. Falls to his death. Here's some of that cartooniness I was talking about. And he looks up and he sees the Lincoln Memorial, and one of his hands is bloody. He got up out of his chair, I guess, and killed the Nazi. It's very silly, but I kind of like it. That's a great twist ending. Meanwhile, Dr. Mengele, the famous Nazi butcher, surgeon, he runs back to gather up his stuff so he can run off to South America, and he hears a voice. You may have killed us, doctor. Oh, like America, we will always rise up against evil. And we see that creature, the amalgamated corpses, and they're holding all the Nazis. They killed them all, and they have them puppet strings on them. I guess tying it into the whole idea of the puppet show for the orphans. And so it's a very easy ending. And then it has this very patriotic ending. This story, I think, is worth the price of admission. It's not the best drawn story, or definitely not the best written story you've ever read, but it's such a fun little idea. Just like a what-if scenario. And I think Staton nailed it. I'm really impressed with how Joe Staton did this EC business. Here we have Paul Hornschemeier. Let me try to get that name. Paul Hornschemeier. I totally butchered it even worse last episode. So he does these kind of cute little goofy cartoons called The Escape Knot. And it's a cute little version of The Escapist it's a very weird concept. He's the opposite. He wants to be trapped. He's almost like a claustrophile who's like, I've got to find something to trap me. And, he's running around. Here's the cute version of Big Al. He's called Little Al in here. Very silly, weird little gag comic. I like this last panel. It's very different. So this is unfortunate. Not only is this by far the longest story in these anthologies, it's huge. It's way too long. But it's not very good. It's written by Stuart Moore. Used to be an editor at Vertigo, and he wrote every now and then, but very rarely. And it's drawn by Steve Conley of Astounding Space Thrills, he's a big internet cartoonist type guy. And this is The Escapist 2966, a complete 2-part novel. I was tired after the first part, and then I had 16 more pages to read. So we see a flashback. We know it's a flashback because you can see the Ben-Day dots in the art. Now, Steve Conley isn't horrible, but his style is kind of just, generic. I mean, he definitely uses the computer a lot, but it's just not that great. But to be honest, it's not that bad. a lot of these pages look like, that looks sharp. That looks nice, I guess. But there's something a little too antiseptic about it for my taste. So we see this flashback to the original Escapist, and he's getting out of this giant clam trap. And then we see that was just a daydream of this future Escapist. And he's looking at the old notes of the Escapist, going through the files. He's got this cute little cat. I think he's a robot. He's got a key, discoloration around his eye. Certain pads like that really look bad to me. I think that's some kind of computer coloring. It just, I'm not going to really get into much of this story, guys, because it's not very good. But I'll just show you most of the art and, I don't know, point out some things if I think they're interesting. Because he uses a computer, he has access to all these, good sound effect fonts and stuff. And some of them look kind of nice, the old-timey effects. We keep going to these flashbacks, which once again you can tell, the Ben-Day dots. We have these 3 villains in the future. This guy Opto, who has all these eyes on his body, he's kind of one of the flunkies of this guy, the Robo-Puter. Actually, a product placement here. Very interesting. So this is pretty much played for yucks, this comic. It's trying to be funny, I guess. I didn't find it that funny. It's not the worst. But compared to last issue, there was some gold in that issue. And this is just so subpar. I don't even like the way he draws cats. But because he uses computers, he can do all these kind of crazy, it's almost like CGI effects. I didn't do that for dramatic effect. I actually am very tired. But the yawn just came out of me. But then I realized, oh yeah, that's a good comment on the story. It sums it all up. Definitely trying to do some retro touches here, like the ad for an amusement park, like Superman used to always have. I thought this was actually kind of maybe humorous. The Splinter coaster, built during the war by unlicensed carpenters. Hurry before they tear it all down. This is really rickety, unsafe roller coaster. I've never read Steve Conley's Astounding Space Thrills or anything he's done, actually. I know he's pretty popular. He's been around just forever, cranking out stuff. And I think I probably saw the art and was like, nah, not for me. And now I realize I was right. I guess I kind of like the design of Robotour, or what's his name? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a computer and a robot mixed together. But I think his computer just, like he used, like a design. I feel like I'm not living up to my responsibilities by not really getting into the story. But I've been making a video a day for a year now, almost a year, and this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I really do not want to talk about this comic that much. God, that's terrible. That's like a fanzine artist from the late 70s or something. They do this kind of interesting thing at the end where, it's a happy ending. The Escapist has saved the day. And then we pull back and we see we see someone writing a script. That is the page we just read. You know, like panel 6, dialogue. And we see the guy finish up the script. Cyril M. Cutter, Fab Comics. And just from these letters and citations, we see that this guy was once kind of hot shit. He won an award for his teleplay. But then we see these rejection letters. And, well, he was also a war hero. I should mention that. Then we see this basically gets fired for drinking too much. So we realize that this guy is, he's on a downward spiral. And this case was a part of the story. That's where this, like, almost holy hand grenade was inside. But in real life, in this author's apartment, when he cracks it open, it's a bottle of bourbon. And it says, that cycle is what you must escape. I thought this was kind of interesting in the end. Still very poorly drawn. This just looks ugly to me. All these weird computer effects and everything. Definitely not a fan. So now we have Matt Kint, the cover artist, writing and drawing The Escapist in Chain Reaction. And I'm not quite sure what to think of this art. I don't think I like it. It is kind of interesting that he's trying this weird style. I don't know if Matt Kint always draws like this. I thought he drew a little less stylized. And this one's kind of interesting because it's this old comic. This is supposedly some old Escapist comic. But we see all of the editor's notes. Like, who approved the story? I've written in some changes. So there is this interesting article at the end that kind of explains why this is such a weird issue. So I think Matt Kint was drawing in an extra weird style just to be like, because that's part of this metafiction, is that this was a very weird issue of The Escapist that was never kind of lost. So he's fighting the saboteur, chasing him around. Some hijinks. Boobs need to be bigger here, or bosoms for this woman. This is kind of like, there's weird things in this. Like, this woman escapes from this car trunk that she's drowning in. And then we never see her again. See previous note on bosoms. So this editor is just like, not the best editor. So we just see the Escapist chasing saboteur through the city. And then it says, meanwhile, in the nearby office of Prime Comics Publishing. And then we see the guy drawing the comic, and we hear the editor berating him, telling him all these stupid things. More words, fewer pictures. You got to beat the reader's head over. You got to beat the reader over the head with it. And then the guy stands up for himself finally. You could tell this artist just always takes his abuse. He's like, stop giving me these nonsense directions. I'm creating real art here. And it actually impresses the boss, the editor. He's like, well, you've got a spine after all. The next issue, it's all yours. You can do whatever you want next issue. Look at this weird perspective foreshortening. Doesn't really work. But then again, all the art in this is pretty nutty. This is a pretty interesting silent narrative where all these random things, this guy in the iron chain, he's going to assassinate this guy with the eye patch. All done silently for the most part, which is always kind of fun. Artists trying to figure out that little puzzle of how to do it without words. And he's, finishing up his hamburger at a diner. He's about to shoot this guy. And then the Escapist doesn't even know what's going on. He just is running by, trying to chase the saboteur. But he knocks the guy over. The guy chokes on his hamburger and dies. So totally unwittingly, the Escapist just saved this witness who they were going to kill. God, this art is very odd. And I don't think I like it. I think maybe if the story was good, I might like it. It's not bad, though. It's kind of an interesting story, but also just kind of weird. But I think, once again, like I was saying, he was trying to show you, like, this is the weird, wonkiest comic some got pissed off artist just made, because he could do whatever he wanted. So here we have a little newspaper article from like 2004, and a comic find is nothing to laugh at. Apparently, this comic fan found an old comic in someone's attic, and it was The Escapist number 179. Radio comics featuring The Escapist. Strange thing, there's no mention of number 179 of The Escapist in any price guide, in any comics scholarly journal. According to the price guide, it was canceled after 178. But there's this one copy. And it was written and drawn by Matt Kindt Sr. Here's the cover. Obviously by Matt Kindt. Now we have The Boy Who Would Be the Escapist. And this is written by Kevin McCarthy, that guy who wrote a lot of strips last issue. And really nicely cartooned by Scott Morse. The guy who's mostly works in animation, but does a lot of comics. And he has a very animated style. So we meet this kid. He's always getting picked on. This cute little kid here. And one day this kid finds a golden key, like, the golden key, like the Escapist League, whatever they're called, the League of the Golden Key, always have. He gets home, his father's very abusive, we find out. And the mother does nothing to stop it. It turns out his teacher is Miss Plum Blossom, the Escapist's ally and friend. So this kid kind of lives in his own imagination. He kind of thinks he's the Escapist. I love these colors he does, Scott Morse's stuff. All these pastels and watercolors. So the teacher, Miss Plum, she comes to the house because nobody, Child Protection Services is going to go. They're like, we have no evidence. So she goes, says, I'm worried about all these bruises on Tommy. The father, of course, says, he likes to play his stuntman games. He's always pretending to be a superhero and he hurts himself. So, of course, he gets another beating as soon as Miss Plum leaves. And then one day he goes to the top of a roof. And Miss Plum's there and some police have showed up. And she's like, Tommy, don't do it, don't do it. He's got the key in his hand, though, so he thinks, now I'm a superhero. And he leaps off the roof. And look at him. I like this overlay where he's imagining himself to be the Escapist. So he thinks he'll be fine. Of course, he ends up in the hospital. It's amazing he's still alive. He's broken most of the bones in his body. The whole time he held on to that key. But because of this, all the tension brought to this, they did realize that the father was being abusive. And the teacher says to the cop, she says, crazy kid, believing in a magic Escapist key. And he says, not so crazy. He survived that fall, and he's being taken out of an abusive home. He's a regular Houdini, if you ask me. And it seems like it's changed him, too. When the bullies start picking on him, it seems like he's going to stand up for himself now. And it was kind of beautiful, last page here. With all these nice colors of him. He still thinks he's the Escapist. Next, we have an article. This is great. They got Roy Thomas to write a fake escapist history type thing. This is about the fab comic era. This was in the late 60s. It even has the alter ego logo. Like, this was meant for Roy Thomas's fanzine. But it was squeezed out at the last minute, so he allowed us to print it here. And this is just about the 60s comic company that got the rights to the Escapist, and they couldn't afford like the big names. So they, once again, these Escapist editors have great taste. They hired a young Neil Adams, a young Jim Steranko. They got Steve Ditko to work for him. And then this is amazing. According to the, whatchamacallit, I always forget the name of this shit. The GCD, the Grand Comic Database. This is a Gil Kane drawing. Because they mentioned that Gil Kane worked for them briefly, and it says this is really Gil Kane. And this is really Herb Trimpe. This is the League of the Golden Key. And now we see an example of that late 60s era. So we see Dean Haspiel here trying to draw very much, as much like Kirby as he can. But you can still tell it's not really like Kirby, but it has that kind of Kirby wonkiness to it. Even the lettering is perfect. So this is written by Kevin McCarthy once again, and all the art, pencils and inks by Dean Haspiel. So we see this kind of Amazon warrior, and she comes to the temple of the Luna Moth. Some fun looking stuff. I'm not a big fan of Dean Haspiel, but this reminds me of like some like great like Paul Dini type stuff. Those Batman Adventures comics. This is pretty fun cartooning. So basically this Amazon warrior wants to take the place of Luna Moth. And I'm sorry, the goddess isn't called Luna Moth. She has a different, her name is Lo, actually, L-O. So he says, Lo, I want to be the one to be, you know, your avatar. So Lo says the job's already taken. And once again, we see Judy Dark, the kind of meek librarian. She kind of goes over kind of a recap of her origin. This is interesting, a callback to that Handsome Devil story. She's got some flaming roses in a glass. So then it's almost like It's a Wonderful Life kind of situation where Lo, the goddess, shows her like what could have happened to her life, and where she never became a meek librarian, where she actually was an outgoing teenager who wasn't so shy and stuff, who was very athletic and wasn't a total bookworm, even though she got good grades. This Judy Dark will never become Luna Moth, and perhaps is better off for it. She doesn't need magic powers to feel good about herself, like Judy Dark did. That's kind of the implication in Luna Moth stories, is that, yeah, she was very glad to get these powers because it's the only thing that makes her special. But then, in this alternate reality, one day, these moths eat up her Halloween outfit. She likes the way it looks with all these holes in it. She thinks it looks kind of sexy. And she goes out and she ends up being confronted by these like guys who want to mug her. Well, probably worse than that. The Escapist is watching the whole thing, and he jumps down to assist her. And it turns out from all her gymnastic training and boxing, I guess she took, she's a pretty good crime fighter. She's pretty good in a scrap. And so she actually becomes a superhero. So even, she becomes the masked moth. So even without her magic powers from Lo, it turns out she would have become a hero anyway. Just to prove to this, you know, Amazon warrior lady that no, she deserves to be. Of course, in this world where she becomes the masked moth, it kind of ruins her life. where she's not practicing her gymnastics or sports. She's getting worse grades. She's not hanging out with her friends. And she's becoming withdrawn. And so in this alternate reality, she is still going out with that cop. And I guess they meet at this museum. These bad men show up and shoot him and kill him. So everything's worse in this reality for her. So everything's set right. This almost reminds me of the Book of Job, where Lo, the goddess, is just like kind of putting Judy Dark through these paces to show this Amazon, like, it's not pleasant, but she wants to show this Amazon that Judy Dark is worthy. Next, we have another The Escape Not strip by, I'm going to try to say it again. I'll get better at it the more I say it, I think. Paul Hornschemeier. And this is the similar thing. You know, he's trying to get entrapped. Kind of perverse. Pretty, very quirky, funny stuff. Now this one I like a lot. This is written by Brian K. Vaughan and drawn by this guy Roger Peterson, who I've never seen before. I don't think he's done a lot of comics. I think he's like a designer, graphic designer, illustrator, and, you know, advertising and shit. He's really good. I really like his style. So we see this, we see Empire City, but it's a different Empire City. It's a really darker version. Even though it is Empire City, but it's really focused on the dark. Isn't this art really nice? I almost see hints of Eduardo Riso in it, but it's different. But just really simple, clean lines, but really good cartooning, really good drawing. So we see this woman, she's escaping these muggers. They're chasing her, and she runs right into Big Al. Now this is called Terrain in Hell. She screams. She's like, "Get away from me, you monster." Because, you know, he's 8 feet tall. It's kind of imposing. So he, whatever, he's used to that. So he's just like, oh, whatever. So he takes care of these muggers, beats the shit out of them. And then when he goes to, you know, assuage the woman's fears, she's just like, "Get away from me, you ape." Isn't this art terrific? Just the spotting of the blacks and everything. This is really nice stuff. And then a guy shows up. It's almost like what, the League of the Golden Key, they always have their white tweed suits. And at first, Big Al thinks he might be one of those guys. But this guy's got a black suit on, and he hands him his card. He's from the Iron Chain. He's the bad guys. And he basically says, of course, Big Al says, "What's to stop me from, you know, ripping your head off right now?" And he says, "Because I'm here to offer you a job." I did want to mention his colors are really nice, too. Maybe I should mention the colors for once. Oh, of course, it's Paul Hornschemeier. He's a really good colorist. And he laughs. He's like, "Are you serious? I've been sworn to fight you guys, and you want to hire me?" And he said, "Yeah." And he actually starts preying on his, you know, his ego and his insecurities. And he says, "Yeah, the escapist hogs all the glory. You know, you guys are just his assistants that nobody knows about. What, you know, if you come to work for us, you'll have a whole platoon, and they'll follow your commands." And it almost looks like Big Al is like getting swayed, or at least considering it. As you can see, this whole comic is just a dialogue, but it's Brian K. Vaughan, really good writer. It's really masterfully done, where like you can almost see why Big Al might be swayed by his argument. the thing that really tempts him is because, Big Al's a genius. He loves science. He says, you'll have a whole, laboratory with, 30 scientists at your command. Any experiment you want to do. We hope you make us weapons, but you don't have to. You can do anything. You'll have 30 guys working for you. So he's really starting to get tempted. So he decides to accompany him to the secret hideout of the Iron Chain. The Escapist and Big Al thought that they eradicated the Iron Chain from Empire City. He said, no, you guys just knocked out one of our cells. We have many cells, and this is one. The Escapist doesn't know about it. And so he goes down there, and he's drooling. He just sees all these scientists that would be at his command if he takes the job. And he's just like, wow. And when he says that, would hope you make inventions for us, he says, actually, I have something for you already. And he pulls out a golden key. This bad guy says, is this some kind of weapon? He says, actually, it's a homing beacon. And the Escapist shows up. So it was a homing beacon. And he's like, you bastard, it's a raid. You tricked me. So Big Al was totally acting. The bad guy ducks down into this thing. The Escapist goes to chase him. He says, you can finish off his goons. It's all these guys with these little crazy laser guns. This also reminds me of Pat McEwen, just that, once again, just that perfect, great cartooning. McEwen? And Big Al fights these guys off. I kind of like this. It's not that hard because once he knocks a few of their heads together, they're like, hey, we're surrendering. We're just scientists. We're not soldiers. The Escapist comes out. He's got the guy wrapped up in a chain. And the Escapist says, no one escapes the Escapist. And the bad guy, kind of to Big Al, says, remember what he said. I'd remember your boss's warning. No one escapes the Escapist. Because that was one of his arguments to Big Al, is that you're a prisoner in your life. You have to follow the Escapist, everything he tells you. So they've wrapped up they've gotten all the bad guys, and back at their headquarters under the theater there. And it's kind of interesting because we see that even though this all was a big act, we do see that in a way, maybe that bad guy was right, because the Escapist is just like, oh, I'm off to have a date with some famous movie star now, and you're going to be okay on your own? He's like, yeah, I'll catch up on my reading. And Big Al, once he leaves, silent panels of Big Al going into his bedroom, which the door isn't even shaped for, it's too small for him. He has to crouch down to get into it. And we just see him pull out the little card of the Iron Chain that the guy gave him. And he's looking at it, contemplating. And that's how the story ends. Really nice, subtle writing there. Good stuff. It's kind of interesting. The first and last story are the two stories that are making me keep this book. Almost everything in between, I'm like, I would have kicked this out of the Academy if it wasn't for those two. We have another gallery. This is always fun. Here we have Jim Mahfood. Never been a fan of that guy. This isn't bad, though. Kind of cute. And then, God, fucking just Mike Mignola. He never fails to deliver. This is beautiful. It's so nice. This is a really great one. Farrell Dalrymple. This is amazing. Look at just the building, the illustration of these buildings in the background. But I love this interpretation of him breaking out of this trap. This is a beautiful one. John Cassaday. Really nice stuff. I totally thought it was Brian Bolland at first. But it's John Cassaday. And this one by, I'm going to have to look this up. I forgot this guy's name. M.K. Perker. Kind of interesting. Looks like that Aeon Flux guy, like Peter Chung or something. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in animation. Here we have creator bios once again. Always appreciate these. Let's see if we can look up that M.K. Perker. Oh, I guess because he just did a pin-up, he doesn't get a creator bio. But that's it for Michael Chabon Presents The Amazing Adventures of the Escapist, Volume 2. I guess that's the full title, Michael Chabon Presents. It's a pretty long title. Hope you guys like looking at this. Not nearly as good as that first one volume. I don't know if you'll agree, but definitely a step down for me. Well, maybe 17 steps down. But hopefully the next issue will bring things back up to snuff. So I hope you guys like looking at this, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.